fighter Thicc versus quick versus Thicc build. Gonna do. Here's the fighter quick build. Strength of dex, that's actually good. Then con or int, and then soldier background. So again, no race selection. Next highest con is fine. The mention of the Eldritch Knight is really good, because the Eldritch Knight is really spicy. That's the class. But there are certain things that should be mentioned, even all the way back in PHB days, like early D&D 5e, that just aren't mentioned here. And also, let's check out the soldier background, shall we? What does it give you? Athletics and intimidation. Not the best. Not bad, but not the best. Just does not go at all with Eldritch Knight. Because the Eldritch Knight probably going to want Dex in it. Because you want Dex in it, having a strength and charisma skill, not good. So already we have a bit of a discrepancy. If you're going to mention a class, a subclass, people are going to want to take the subclass. If you also recommend a background that gives you skills that does not fit the stats of that subclass, then it's totally counterintuitive. It just gives people bad advice right off the get-go, and that's really bad. So let's make ourselves a Thicc build, shall we? So we are going to go Eldritch Knight. But keeping that in mind, we're going to get Find Familiar spell at level 3. And what that means is, we'll be able to use an owl's senses through perception. We don't need our own perception, we can use the owl's senses. But we don't need particularly high perception. And also, we want to go Dex in. Take a bow, sit in the back, make pot shots. If we need to, we can go in, but for the most part, we sit back. So, for race, go High Elf. Specifically, the Erini High Elf from Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron. It shouldn't be too much of an issue, but I actually have this character here, and I'll say all about it. So here it is. This is the build for Fighter. This is going to start you off with all sorts of things, and ignore the gold right now. Just that's not important. We went Erini High Elf, and we take Arcana Expertise. Using a altered standard array, but even if you use regular standard array, this 9 would be an 8, and this 11 would be a 10. Literally no difference. So, with Tasha's rules, or just with the High Elf rules in general, we're going Dex, Int to be 15, Con to be 14, Wisdom will be your next highest, and then we go Charisma and Strength. Be the dip. Get a Strength and Con save, which is really good. Con save is good for the spellcasting that we'll be doing later. And then we'll be starting off with the equipment that we pick, we'll be getting longbow, 20 quiver, 20 arrows. We'll get leather armor. We'll also be getting short sword or scimitar. Probably the scimitar. Pick the scimitar, not the rapier. Rapier is bait. Rapier is very, very limited. I've said this before, I'll say it again in my videos. Any smart, semi-smart creature will see that you're only going for pokes, and they'll just try to grab and snatch the rapier out of the hands. It's literally any creature with an ounce of the time. So don't pick rapier. Try to go for versatility and creative effect. Literally all you drop from this is maybe like 2, 4, 6 damage in melee. And that's just not going to be that much, especially considering we'll be taking archery as our fighting style. And we'll be attacking from range most of the time. So, we go high elf because it gives us good stats. We take acrobatics, investigation. I went, is it engineer as my background? Which gives you arcana investigation, so you can get whatever skills you like, because we already have that. Stealth, sleight of hand is what I picked. And then the high elf already gives you perception, because we're not going to be looking at perception because of our familiar. I'm going to switch that out with Tasha's Cauldron of Everything rules and take survival, because that is a very proactive, knowledge-based skill. You'll be able to do a lot of proactive and creative play, and that has the highest impact in. From the background, we also get proficiencies in Alchemist Supply, which help a lot, making downtime very useful. Get all this other stuff. This is just all flavor for the shield. We take the shield, and you'll also take a hand crossbow instead of the 2 hand axes, but I just didn't include that because we really don't need it. It's like a backup weapon, and or it's light crossbow, not even a hand crossbow, which would be better. A light crossbow. Feel free to sell that as soon as you can in a shop. It's irrelevant. We also go elf because of the trance. This means that once we eventually get spells, instead of taking an 8-hour long rest to get our spells back, it'll just take 4 hours, and then with the rest of that time, we'll be able to do whatever we really want in downtime. Which means we could be making things with Alchemist. Excellent synergy already. The background also gives you a good knowledge of buildings, which is fine. It shouldn't come up that often, so it's nice to have. The High Elf also gives you a Wizard cantrip, which is great because Wizard cantrips use intelligence, and we'll be also using intelligence for our Eldritch Knight Fighter spells. So I picked Prestidigitation. It's just a good spell to have. You can go Shock and Grasp if you want. We'll be getting Shock and Grasp eventually level 3 regardless, because of the synergy with the Found Familiar. However, feel free to pick Shock and Grasp now, because you want to stay in range instead of melee. If an enemy comes up to you, you can Shock and Grasp them, then without disengaging, move away. Literally just free lightning damage, a lot of the times with advantage, and then get to walk away without worrying about opportunity attacks. And also, the rest of the party doesn't have to worry about their opportunity attacks either. So if you have an ally nearby as well, the ally can also mess around, run away on their turn. Very convenient. Shock and Grasp is great. I picked Prestidigitation mainly because I made this character to be a dungeon delver. specifically, and I wanted it to be able to clean off materials. Also, just I love its general utility. I would have been taking it regardless. So, again, I went Dex for the long range, but also we get movement. Here, we get stealth here, so we'll be able to sneak around with the party. Sleight of hand, so that we'll be able to successfully steal and interact when we're in social situations. Arcana, because the magical character, it's good to have expertise in Arcana. Investigation will help us be scout and scout support along with the stealth skill. When we're doing exploration, and survival definitely helps with exploration as well, and also harvesting specific ingredients for the alchemist supply. Languages, I just picked for my choices for High Elf Sylvan. I already speak Elven, but it's nice when you talk to magical beasts and things, having Sylvan around. You know, it doesn't come up very often, but a lot of languages don't come up very often. Draconic is just something that I picked from background. I'd rather have Draconic than Goblin, honestly. It is Dungeons and Dragons, after all. But yeah, if you wanted to get started off with a fighter, set them up for the best build for fighters, here you are. Eventually, the reason why we go 15 instead of 14, because we'll be taking Elven Accuracy and bumping that 15 to a 16 with the stat. So we get a bonus, and we get an extra stat bonus. Excellent. Also, we'll be getting really good spells coming up for melee and ranged. We'll start off at level 3, we'll be able to get Earth Tremor, which is excellent for comboing with melee and supporting your allies. Find Familiar is Find Familiar. It's a huge read for a new player, but it's just absolutely amazing, and once you understand what Find Familiar does, you'll be able to understand what anything does. Moving on from that, eventually when you get to level 7, you'll be messing around with second level spells. Of course, the reason why we went range is because we'll be getting Gust of Wind and Warding Wind, and be able to use those spell effects in certain scenarios to gain unbelievable advantages from range and melee, using ranged attacks and versus ranged. Incredible boon for range. Yeah, but these are the main spicy combos that I could tell you quickly. Take this, that, and the other thing. Send you on your way, and you'll probably have an incredible campaign where you'll useful in every pillar of the game, then some. Have high impact, and there's plenty of room to make interactive, roleplay fantastic backstory. All this that we have right now. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoy. See you some other time.